D2MX trade tools, the trading system. Now, for those of you that have been using the previous versions of Market Analyser, this will be very familiar to you. It's been put over from the old program. So things will be fairly familiar for you there. Some of you may not have used it in a while, so you pick up a few tips, and others you just may refresh a few things for you on how to use the trading system.
Muted.
So my name's Jeff Cartridge. I'll be running tonight's presentation, and as we go through, please feel free to ask questions. You've got a question functionality built into the meeting software or the webinar software that you're looking at. You can type in those questions and they'll pop up on the screen in front of me. And I will attempt to answer questions as we go through. The first part of the presentation will be looking at the trading system and keep focused on that. And then after that, there'll be opportunity to ask questions on any topic that you choose. So any aspect of the program that you're playing with or using and you've got questions on, if we can save those to after the first part of the presentation. So the focus will be on the trading system for the first part, but then an open question and answer session after that. So what we'll do is we'll get underway taking a look at the D2MX trading tools. The presentation tonight will be recorded, so a copy of it will go up on the blog. And if you haven't been to the blog yet, traderdealer.blog.com.au. Just pop there now, and I'll show you what's on there. So blog.traderdealer.com.au, and there's a dedicated blog dedicated to Market Analyser 7. So click on Market Analyser 7. And the details on how to download it, which I'm sure you've done by now, the webinars that we've had on, any release notes, any updates as things change, and the latest one for today is portfolio systems. So there's an opportunity here to pull your portfolios out of your old program and into an Excel spreadsheet for now. There is more work going on the portfolio system, and it will be incorporated in the Market Analyser 7 in the future. But for now, you can access the information from your old systems via the portfolio system in here. So that's on the blog. Down the bottom there, you can pick up the portfolio side. Just another reminder, Tuesday nights, there'll be extended hours on the support through to 9 p.m. That's Tuesday next week. Wednesday night is Anzac, and the help desk will have the day off. So they won't be there. It's a public holiday. And so no late hours on Wednesday, but Tuesday night next week, the help desk will be there till 9 p.m. So from that, we'll shoot back and take a look at the trading system. It's one of the D2MX trade tools that's built in here, and click on the trading system, and it brings up this window. Now with the trading system, it allows you to back test or test out an idea. You might think, well, hey, what if I just followed a moving average crossover or a MACD crossover, and every time I got a signal I bought the share? Would that work, and would that make me money? Well, you can answer that question with a trading system. Very, very powerful system to test your ideas to determine whether they work. And we'll step you through setting up just exactly what we talked about, a MACD crossover, and how to find out whether that would work as a trading system in its own right. To create a new system, click on the button Create, and you get a message, are you sure you want to create it? Say yes, and we now start with a blank screen. The first thing we've got to set is the entry formulas. So what are the entry formula? And we've talked about using the MACD crossover. So the MACD crossover, the position type is long, so we're buying shares and we want them to go up, and the period is daily. You can have weekly and monthly signals in here, and in the last presentation we discussed if you want to scan on a weekly basis, you can do that in the system by setting up the entry criteria and then choosing weekly in here. So you do have the ability to scan weekly using the trading system. But refer to the previous presentation on scanning for how to do that. So we'll come back, we'll be looking at daily. These periods here you can edit, but the standard MACD periods is 12, 26 and 9. And the cross signal is if the MACD crosses above the signal line, then we're going to go long on the trade. So tell it OK. Now the selected exit formula, we can add that, and we'll use the same MACD to get out. MACD crossover, and this time to get out, we're going to exit a long position when the cross direction is below the signal line. So when the MACD crosses down, we're going to exit a long position. Tell it OK. And we now have an entry on a MACD crossover up and an exit on a MACD crossover down. You can add in stops in here. A floating stop is what would be more known as a trailing stop that follows the share up. And we'll try that as an alternative exit. And there are some other exits in here we'll take a look at as well. But for now, let's just see how the MACD works in its own right. The maximum value per trade, we'll put at $5,000. And we're going to scan on the top 20 companies, so we'll allow multiple open positions. So it's possible to enter a position more than once on each share if you get more than one signal. Given the setup here, that's very unlikely to occur. Choose the list that you're going to scan. Here you can access all of your custom watch lists as well as the preloaded watch lists that are part of the Market Analyser 7 platform. We'll use the ASX 20 and click on Save. Because this is a new strategy, we'll have to give it a name, MACD test, and tell it OK. The strategy now can be used by the back tester, so we're now ready to try it out and see whether it works. Tell it OK and click on Run Strategy. Now in here we can test over any time period that we choose. The longer we go back in time, the more data that's going to be loaded, the longer that the tests will take to run. So we'll run it for now just on the last 12 months. But we could run this over 5 years, 10 years and see how the performance of it changes over time. Click on Run the Back Test and it will go out and retrieve the codes, check the MACD crossover signal on each of those codes, the top 20 here, and will then give us an answer on how the trading system works. And that's pretty clear from that graph that it doesn't. Buying on a MACD cross up and selling when it crosses down pretty consistently loses money over the last 12 months. So certainly not a strategy we'd be wanting to try. We can find out more about it, look at the all of the trades that occurred, when the entry dates were, and the exit dates and the profit. So the entry date there, exit date, the price we got in, price we got out, and the profit we made on each trade. But fairly consistently negative. The summarized report will show us those results. We lost a total of $16,000 and a return of minus 16%. 230 trades, only 24% were profitable. I like your comment, Neil, but like your own trading results over the last 12 months. Well, it'd be a good idea to use the platform here and perhaps turn that around. I'll actually show you something that does work rather than those that don't. But this is an example up front, so we'll have a look at some of the ones that do work tonight as well. So the 24% winning, not so great as a strategy in here. We'll just drop out the MACD crossover as an exit, delete that off, and we'll add in a floating stop, set it, say, 5%. Tell it OK. Save that, tell it OK, and we'll run the strategy again. And let's just see if it makes any difference, the exit strategy that we used. Given that the success rate was very low, changing the exit is not likely to make a huge difference, because the problem is it's just not right often enough. And as you can see, it doesn't make it any better. In fact, the trailing stop makes it slightly worse. So here we've found something that doesn't work. Now, if you haven't got much to do for the next week or so, you can actually sit down and run through all of the different indicators that are in here. And there's a whole heap of them. And this is something that I did. I actually went through this a while ago and in the old version and tested every indicator in here to see what works and what doesn't. It was really interesting. What I found is that in most cases, many of the indicators would work well in an up market, and then they'd lose money in a down market. And that was pretty common. And probably about 90% of the indicators worked that way. But what I was really interested in were the ones that worked, whether the market was up or down. And those were the ones that, after testing all of these, I was able to find. Now these are my favorite, in inverted commas, favorite strategies to use. Question from Wayne, why not go short on the signal instead of long? Okay, well let's just have a look at that. We can test that answer. So the MACD crossover, we'll just edit it and come in here. Instead of going long, we'll go short. So when we get that cross above, we'll go short on the signal. Tell it OK. We'll stick with the floating stop for now. Click Save and run the strategy. That was very fast. I don't think that ran. Run the back test, that's better running this time. And there's the results. Well, that's a much better result. So going short on that signal instead of long has produced better results. So when the MACD crosses above its signal line, a short trade gives better results than a long. And using a trailing stop, there we are, we've picked up a profitable strategy, except in the last week or so. Now you've got to remember that the market's been relatively bullish during that time, and the short strategy is actually working quite well. Doesn't make a huge lot of sense, but that's what the results are telling us. Another way to approach it would be just shooting back to the strategy, and again we can test these different ideas, is edit it out, rather than the cross direction being above the signal line, the cross below, and use that as an entry. Tell it OK, we're going long again, click Save, tell it OK, and run the strategy. And let's have a look at how that performs. And that performs pretty badly as well. So Wayne, looks like you've got the pick of it there. Essentially going short on the strategy seems to be the best way to approach using a MACD crossover. Now that's against the traditional wisdom on how you'd actually use that indicator and how you'd operate this particular trade. But in the last 12 months, you've been better at trading against it rather than trading with the MACD. Wayne's saying, having trouble confirming on a chart how the strategy can be confirmed, just to be sure it's doing what you want to do. It's not that easy to, as you say, to pick it across. It's a matter of picking out the dates. From your standard report list, you've got all the dates of the signals. So if we pick a particular trade, pick a recent one, scroll down, where are we? Pick one down near the bottom of the list. So if we got BHP short on the 2nd of April and closed the position on the 13th of April, and it made a small profit on the trade. So we'll have a look at BHP 2nd of April to the 13th. So BHP up here, short on the 2nd of April, which is, just make that a little larger. When saying it would be good if it's able to plot the signals on the chart, it's something we can look at, obviously, talk to the development team about for future releases if we could pop the signals on the chart there. We'll apply the MACD so we can see what's going on. And so our signal to go short in here on the 2nd and getting out with a trailing stop on the 13th, which is 12th with 13th there when it popped back up. So short there and hopping out there. So as the MACD crossed up, we took the short trade down through there. So it's certainly going short, it's certainly confirmed from that one trade. Obviously, it's just checking a couple of trades, Wayne, to see that you are getting what it is you're trying to get. And that certainly confirms that what we're seeing in the chart here ties in with what the system is telling us. And for future development, something we can put on the list of things to look at is actually plotting some signals onto the charts. Confirms you'd not want to be going long on a downtrend. So certainly not. The MACD there is showing us that the short is certainly the better thing to do. And with BHP in a downward trend, getting long there, trading with a trend, supports the trade. Now, just coming back to the different strategies and things that I've found from using the trading system, and I said I spent about a week testing pretty much everything in here. The ones that I found that worked quite well, we'll create another one, was the Bollinger Bands, and they're a fairly well-known indicator. They measure above, below, Bollinger Band above, below. They measure extremes in the market, so an extreme down or extreme up. And I found these work quite effectively. If we set it up to 2 standard deviations, we'll get less trades by doing that. The 1 standard deviation, the bands are tighter, but the 2 standard deviations is normally used. And we're going to go long, stick with the long side, and go long when we're below the lower band, and tell it OK. Exit. I'll just show you one of the other exits in here. One I often use when I'm testing an idea is a time stop. And the time stop basically just says get out X number of days after you get in. So let's say 1 day after I get in, I'm going to get out. Regardless if I've got a profit or loss, I'm just going to get out 1 day later. Tell it OK. And I've created a new formula. Choose the watch list, and we'll stick with the top 20 for now, and click Save. Enter the name. It's Bollinger Bands Test. Tell it OK. OK, and we'll run that strategy. Bollinger Bands, run. And run through here. Now this is going long when the market's fallen back and is fallen back or is dropped away below the lower band. Looking at the profit chart, starts out, got knocked around quite badly in the middle of 2011 there, but it's been sort of climbing up quite consistently since that time. Looks like the MACD would have been a better option rather than the Bollinger Band during this time. If we extend this back over a longer period though, it does work very, very well over a longer time frame. And it does get knocked around when the market falls very, very sharply, but over a longer time frame this strategy does work quite effectively. The longer the time frame you have, the longer it's going to take to run the tests and to bring up the results. But it will tick through, and do this. And the thing that I found, question from Wayne, yep, we can add another indicator to the MACD, and certainly can do that. And Neil's saying trying a different strategy, a different exit, and again certainly can do that as well. The longer, if we get to an extreme, the longer the exit can allow it to snap back or bounce back if we leave a longer exit on it. But if the market continues to fall heavily, like it sort of did, this period here was when the European crisis was in full swing. Greece was a major problem, and the market got to those over extremes and then kept going further. So we'll pop that one through and see how it pops up over the longer term. And as you can see here, certainly climbing over a number of years, and certainly got knocked around in sort of early 2011 there, but again is back on track and climbing again in the bigger picture. So just coming back to Wayne's one with the MACD, just pop back into the MACD test, and is looking at, say, looking at only trades where we can filter out or add in another indicator. Now here you have an advanced mode. You click on advanced mode and it gives us the opportunity to add in other formulas or other indicators into it. So if we're looking for a MACD crossover, and what Wayne suggested is the price is below a 30-day moving average, add a second indicator, and we can have it and, or not, but let's use and you can also use brackets to group things. So we're going to and we add in moving average. It's above or below we just want a single moving average. So I'll grab MA single, above, below, and the period is a 30-day moving average. So if the price is below the 30-day moving average based on the closing price, then we'll add that in. So now the MACD crossover and the price must be below the moving average. Click Save, tell it OK, and run that strategy. And we'll bring it back to just the last year and run the back test. Now remember, we're going short on this trade. We get a signal on the MACD, we're going short on the trade. And it must be below a 30-day moving average. And we'll see whether that improves or makes the results worse. So I was just ticking through. What you'll find is once you start adding in moving averages, and the longer the periods of moving averages, the more data the program's got to pull in to calculate those, and it does slow down the calculations a bit. Obviously, the less data it has to pull in, the quicker and easier it can pop up with the results. So this is why it takes a while to get through the list of indicators, because there's quite a few indicators, and depending how many you're running on, it can take some time. But the beauty of it is you're able to test out ideas and determine whether there's value in these ideas or not. And that's one of the beauties of this approach, is that you can, someone says, hey, the MACD is a great indicator. Well, yes it is, but, and we've just shown, if you follow it the way you traditionally thought, at the moment you'll be losing money quite quickly. Whereas if you follow it the way that it works in the current market conditions, then there's an opportunity to make money there. So just running this test through. And just about there, WDC, this farmers, Woodside's the last one when we get there. There we go, and now it'll bring up the results of that scan. And not looking great. So what it will do is cut down the number of trades, but it certainly looks like, and I'll just check the parameters. I was going short when it crossed above the signal line, so that actually makes the strategy worse. If you're going short when the market's below a moving average, the strategy actually gives worse results than going short when the market's above. So again, turning it around, and instead of being below, we could edit that and have a look at if the price is above a moving average, and save that and run that back test. Elizabeth's comment, well, that's past calculations, what about future predictions? Obviously, predicting the future is one of those things where you're bound to be wrong, but there is actually a use to this on the past calculations, and that is if it doesn't work in the past, there's not a chance that it's going to work in the future, or very small. I understand you're kidding. But if it does work in the past, there's a good chance that it will work in the future because there's some reason that it works. There's the whole argument around the market, the random walk. No one can make money in the markets because it's just random. But what we can find with a tester like this is that there are certain conditions that do produce consistent results, and there has to be a reason or underlying reason behind that. And it's those opportunities that we're looking for when we're trading. So if it doesn't work in the past, there's very little chance it will work in the future, except pure luck. But if it does work in the past, then there is a good chance that that will work in the future. Not a guarantee, but a chance that it will work. And that's what we're looking for when we run tests like this. And just while we're waiting for the test to run through, after running through all those strategies that are in there, there was two things that I found that worked consistently. One was when the market reached an extreme, so extreme high or extreme low, it would often reverse from those extremes. And that was the basis of being outside a Bollinger Band, commodity channel index being at an extreme, what was the other ones? Things like money, I'll come back to money flow, but money flow index being an extreme. That was the ones that actually gave good results. But with the money flow, the other thing I found that worked consistently was things like money flow index includes price and volume. On-balance volume includes price and volume, and those indicators also worked well from the tests that I ran. And we're not doing great with this. The moving average seems to create more problems than it solves when you put the moving average together with the MACD. So not a great combination, but obviously we can test that through here by adding in those different ones using the advanced mode. So up here, simple mode disappears. You can add an indicator in here. We can add the CCI above below and tell it OK, and it will by default put in the AND. But if I don't want AND, I can use the advanced mode to put in OR. Add that and then move it around. So MACD crossover and the MA signal is above or below OR. And again, I can use brackets in here to group the order that I actually want things to occur in. So these two conditions on the bottom here is that the key condition is the MACD crossover, and these ones in here true, then an entry signal will be taken. So that's how I can use the advanced mode and add in these conditions. So there's a number of ways that I can approach this, and there's a huge list of signals that I can test and ideas that I can test out. You can the advanced mode, when to enter, when to exit, there's nothing available in those at the moment, but it's entering at close or entering at the open price. There's ability to actually set those up. Over here you've got the opening price as the entry or the exit price as the high. You can choose those prices as well, which will alter your results. You can also set brokerage as a fixed amount per trade or a percentage per trade in here as well. So you've got a number of pieces in here that you can control as to determine when and where you exit and enter a particular trade. So the best result we've got this evening was just simply going back to the MACD crossover and looking at that as a short signal, a short entry signal when you got the trading opportunities popping up. That was the best opportunity that we found just with our short play around this evening. But the trading system allows you to test out many, many different ideas and try those ideas out and see how they work and see whether there is any value to the particular idea or strategy that you've been talking about or playing with. And you can combine strategies. Also in here you do have in here with the indicators you can add in your custom formulas. So if you've been in the organizer and created your own combination indicators, you can actually test those as well and how they perform. So these are ones that have been created in the D2MX Trade Tools Analyzer Wizard. We've created those particular strategies by combining indicators, and we can then come back into the trading system and add in any of the custom indicators that we've created as well. So for those of you that have been using MA6, it is very similar. It's essentially exactly the same as what you were using in the previous version, MA6 or MA Pro. Question from Neil, is it possible to automate a trading strategy with Trader Dealer? No, not fully automate it. You have the ability to set contingent orders which allow you to enter if a set price is reached. So you would have to essentially calculate what that price is for today and then put that order in. There's not a facility to enter a trade on a stop or on an indicator signal with Trader Dealer, but there is the contingent orders allowing you to enter if a price is hit today. So that's one way to approach it. With the next presentation, we'll take a look at the actual order window and placing orders through Trader Dealer, how you can actually do that. So that will be the next presentation, Thursday next week after Anzac weekend, the long weekend. Well, not long weekend, the Anzac holiday in the middle of the week. So that's the trading system in a nutshell. It gives you the ability to test ideas, try them out for yourself, and see how they perform over a period of time. And find what works and what doesn't in the market. Very powerful tool, allowing you to actually analyze correctly and identify opportunities that you could trade in the future. So from here, we'll just open it up to free questions, either questions around what we've spoken about this evening or going broader into anything that you choose. If there's any other aspects of the program you've got questions on, please, now is an opportunity to ask those questions as well. What we've noticed is that people are obviously getting more comfortable with the platform. The questions have sort of dwindled off a little with the presentations. It's been great having people on board and asking the questions and providing feedback as how the rollout's gone and new ideas for improvements. It's been really good. But we are noticing that there's this drop-off in the questions and a drop-off in the sort of how do you do this, how do you do that. So that's been good. But please feel free, if you do have questions, the help desk is there and can be contacted on 1300 363 766. And Tuesday, Wednesday nights they're open late till 9 p.m. but won't be there on Anzac Day next week. So any other questions around any aspect of the platform? Things you're finding working, not working, want to know how to do? From Jenny, can you show you how to open a second watch list as I'm still having trouble? Certainly can. So if you go up into pricing and you go down to the quote in the top corner, this here is another quote window, and essentially it's the same as the quote window I've already got up. Pull it across the screen and I can load into that any of my preloaded watch lists, the system watch lists. So I can have the top 50 in there. Just sort of click on it, and that's the top 50 companies, and that's the top 20 companies up there. So the second, and I can have a third or a fourth watch list set up as well. So it's the same window, I'm just opening a second one from here. Now one thing, Jenny, that you may find is once you've got it up, if you click on this one, that one disappears. And you can find where it is by going into Window, and the window there, we've got two quote lists open. And click on the second quote list to bring up that one back to the front. So it was just pricing quote, and that brings in a new window. And that new window operates in the same way as the previous one did. Question there was, can we drag and drop from one window to another? I've never tried it, to be quite honest. ANZ. Yes, you can. It just did it. So yes, you can drag and drop. I wasn't aware that it was possible, but I'll just check that. Use a watch list. We'll pick up something that wasn't obviously already in the list. ACL, drag it across, and ACL. Yes, you can. So Neil, you can drag and drop from one window to another. Something I've learnt tonight, and hopefully you have too. The history of this charts, Elizabeth, how far back do they go? The history in the chart goes back to 2004 for the daily charts. With intraday charts, it will go back as far as you set the chart to. So if you come in here and right click and go to chart properties, you have an intraday period down in here which you can adjust, and then there's an intraday cap which you can turn on or off. It says yes, the data will load faster, but it won't last, it will load only the last 14 days. If you set that up to say, will last only the 14 periods, sorry, the last 14 periods, we're looking here at 5 minutes, so it would last only the last 14 5-minute bars. If you set that up to 60 with the cap on, then it would load the last 60, or simply turn the cap off and it will load all the data that it has available intraday. So how far you go back can be adjusted in here. You can do the same for the daily as well. You can set up a daily cap and the number of months of data to load. The data goes back to 2004, so that's what we're looking at, 7-8 years of data that you've got in here. Question from Wayne: if you want to run a two-stage approach for testing by doing one analysis and then running those stocks selected through another analysis, is this done by creating a new watch list from the first analysis? This would be if I cannot do all the analysis in one test formula. Yeah, Wayne, what you've said is exactly correct. The output of your analysis will give you a list of shares. Now that can be in the analyzer or be the trading system, wherever you've got it from. You can then save that as a watch list, and then from that watch list you can then run anything on that, any analysis on that again. And you may, as an example, you might want to pick up all the shares that are above their 200-day moving averages and only look at those shares. So you run your first test on that, and then you run your next test looking for the stocks that are up for the day or something like that on the watch list. So what you've said is exactly correct. You can create a watch list from the results and then analyze that watch list. So yeah, so the data goes back, as said Elizabeth, it's 2004 is the earlier data, so we're looking at about 8 years. Now for most analysis that's more than adequate. If you're looking at sort of longer term, then you may want more information there. But for most situations, like certainly daily trading, 8 years is a long, long way back. So BHP, if we zoom out, go back through there, and we can then go through weekly. So where we got 2004, the data back there on weekly, pulled right out. Daily charting, there's certainly more than enough information there as to what's happened in the history of the share. Question from Wayne: it can show how to create watch lists from the backtester output. Certainly can, Wayne. So we'll just have to pop into the trading system, and we'll use the MACD test we've been playing with tonight. Save that. Why have we got that? MACD. Accumulation showing below. Come up. Oops. There we are. Okay, so the MACD that we're looking at here, and we go through, save that, run the strategy, run it for 2000. Just 2011. Just shorten up the time so we get some results. Yeah, just go back. So instead of watch list, the top 20. Save. Okay, run that. Okay, so we'll just get some results. I'll show you how you can pull it across into a watch list so that you can use that to then do future analysis on. We'll just grab some data for the results. It's popping through. I'll tell you what, when you check every indicator in the system, you get sick of looking at this box. It does take a while, but certainly well worthwhile when you get the results out of it all. Another little trick I found when running lots of tests is occasionally close the program down. It seems to clear out the memory and then it runs a little bit quicker moving forward. So now we've got the, and here we've got the chart, but what we're interested in more than that is the trades. Now if your scan that you're running is to determine what's open at the moment or where it's valid at the moment, you're only going to want the current ones, so not the closed positions. You're more looking for what's open to go into the watch list. But essentially we'll just pick up the last piece. Now how I've done that is click on the chart on one of the shares, hold down your shift key and click on the other. So that highlights it. So it's just a standard Windows thing. Click on one, hold down shift and click on the other. Control C, again standard Windows, is copy. Control C, and then I come over to the quote, clear that watch list out, and I can click import, and that will bring in the shares from the results from the watch list here, the back tester, into a watch list. Now that I've got the shares in there, I just then save it as, and this is my test watch list, and tell it OK. It's now been created as one of my watch lists in here, somewhere in amongst all the ones I've created. Test watch list, and it can be then analyzed in the same way. So I could go back either into the analyzer and do a test today, come in here and have a look at my watch lists. There's the test watch list in there. So I could scan that for the criteria, or I could go back into the trading system, and again it's one of my watch lists in here. So top 20, there's a test watch list there. So that's how you do it, Wayne, how you can get it across into there. And it's not, you can take analyzer results, you can take trading system results and put them into watch lists so that you can do further analysis on them. Okay. Okay, I think I've got everyone's questions up to date. Are there any other questions there? Anything else people would got about any part of the platform? If not, we'll wrap it up for the evening. Nothing else coming in. So thank you very much for attending the presentation tonight. Great to have you all on board again. And as you get more comfortable with the program, obviously the questions get answered, which is good. And if you do have questions, we've obviously got these webinars and they'll continue to run over the next 2 or 3 weeks for certain, and possibly beyond. We're just seeing how the attendance goes, how much longer we'll run them through there. There will be ongoing training and education around the platform in the future as well, but this sort of step-by-step working through it will sort of be scaling down towards the end of it. The next one we're going to take a look at, though, is using the trading system to place orders. So through the order and linking into trader dealer. That's the next presentation. And then from there, we'll take a look at some of the intraday trading tools that you can use as well. So for those that are watching the markets during the day, how you can do that. So the trading system gives you a great opportunity to back test ideas to determine what works and what doesn't. Great tool to do that, and it allows your trading to sort of move to another level if you can find those opportunities that do present good trading opportunities. And the back tester allows you to verify what works and what doesn't in the markets. I'd like to wish you all successful trading. Have a great evening, and I'll catch up with you next week.